Roll for Crit presents How to Play Arkham Horror Final Hour in 5 minutes or less or more. Arkham Horror Final Hour is the game that takes place at the end of the world and asks you to fix it. Designed by Carlo A. Rossi and published by Fantasy Flight Games. Your goal in Final Hour is to stop a world-ending ritual by discovering what symbols are underneath 2 clue tokens and eventually playing cards to match them. The board is made up of a series of locations, each with individual monster spaces in 3 separate zones, purple, orange, and green. One location on the board will be your ritual location. If at any point that location has all of its monster spaces filled with tokens, and another one needs to be added, you lose the game. You'll set things up according to your chosen ancient one and its specific instructions. Each player will begin with a unique action deck, some health tokens, a hand of 4 priority cards, and a standee which begins on the ritual location. Then the game begins with the action phase. All players draw 1 card from their personal decks and read it to themselves. During this portion of the game, no one is allowed to discuss what their cards say or go over any strategy whatsoever. Each action card has 2 separate actions, one listed at the top, the other at the bottom, but you'll only be carrying out one of those actions on your turn depending on how priority is determined. Here's how it works. The player with the lead investigator token places their card first, face down, then adds 1 priority card on top, face up, showing its number. Then that player draws back up to 4 priority cards. Next, each other player does the same thing in clockwise order until 4 action and priority cards have been played. If there are 3 or fewer players, then some players will play multiple cards in turn order until there are 4 total. Players then carry their actions out in numerical order from lowest to highest, as determined by their priority cards. When a player's number is up, they'll flip their action card, read it aloud, and follow its instructions. The first 2 action cards, played in priority order, will have their top sections activated, while the second 2 will have their bottom sections activated. When playing cards face down, players won't always know what their teammates are thinking, so it's important to pay close attention to what numbers they're playing and to act accordingly. Action cards will allow you to carry out a variety of activities, including movement. When moving, players travel between adjacent locations via cobblestone walkways, not using the red arrows, which are for monsters only. Traveling from one location to an adjacent location counts as one movement. Multiple players can share a location, and nothing hinders movement, not even monsters, so don't worry about it. Some cards will allow you to deal damage to monsters. If you deal damage to one equal to its printed health value, it is destroyed and removed to a pile near the board. Anything less than full health won't have any effect, and damage doesn't carry over between turns. You can split your damage up between monsters if a card allows, destroying multiple in one turn. Some abilities allow you to destroy monsters outright. Isn't that nice? Some cards let you place a seal token on walkways. These will kill any monster that attempts to move through them. Once a seal token has been used 2 times, it is removed. Perhaps your most important action is the investigate action. This allows you to investigate a clue token in your location by flipping it over. If it shows a ritual symbol, move it to the ritual area of the board. Discovering these symbols helps you narrow down which symbols are underneath the 2 clue tokens randomly placed at the start of the game. For example, if 2 star shapes have been found through investigating, then you know that neither of the face-down tokens can be star shapes. These clues will be extremely important when attempting to undo the ritual at the end of the game. Some clue tokens show keys instead of ritual symbols. This means that you draw 1 item card, which features a special ability to be utilized later on. Again, during this phase, players are not allowed to discuss strategy in any way with each other until they've flipped over one of their action cards. At that point, they're free to discuss any aspect of the game that they wish. Once all players have revealed and activated their action cards, the Ancient One phase occurs. First, discard the priority cards players used during that turn. Notice that some of them have omen symbols. Depending on how many of these symbols are showing, the Ancient One will activate a different ability as printed on their card, usually involving a special type of monster and always making life difficult. Next, you'll draw a gate token from the gate stack. At the start of the game, some gates will already be placed at certain locations. Place the newly drawn gate on top of the space at the matching gate's location. For each gate token there, a monster is now spawned. Anytime you draw monsters, you draw it randomly and place it in an empty space at the necessary location. If there are no empty spaces, it moves to a different one instead, following a red or blue arrow depending on its color. It keeps following arrows until it finds an empty space, and if that's impossible, it moves directly to the ritual location instead, which is bad. But what do these monsters do when they're not moving around trying to get to that location? Well, certain effects and action cards will instruct you to activate monsters, usually monsters in a specific zone. To activate them, start from the lowest numbered location in that zone and work your way up. Each monster with an icon carries out one effect. First, any killer monsters with this icon deal 1 damage to 1 investigator in that location, if possible. If an investigator takes too much damage, the game is over, but there are some ways to heal investigators by flipping one of your heart tokens back to its full side. Then, runner monsters with this icon move 1 time to an empty space, following the rules established previously. Finally, wrecker monsters with this icon deal damage to the space they're in. Place a damage token there to mark this and move the monster to an empty space, either in the same location or in a new one if the location is now full. Damaged locations help monsters move around the board more quickly, but some cards will let you repair a location by removing 1 damage token. If there are multiple symbols on a monster, then all of its abilities activate from left to right. Once the Ancient One phase has been carried out, the lead investigator token passes to the next player in clockwise order and a new round begins. If at the end of any given round you're feeling like you want to unsummon the Ancient One, then as a group you can agree to give it a shot. Notice that your priority cards, in addition to their numbers and omen symbols, also feature ritual symbols. In order to reverse the ritual, each player needs to submit 3 priority cards face down without discussing what they are in advance. Your priority cards are always a secret. The goal is to submit cards with symbols that match the 2 ritual tokens randomly chosen during setup. As you investigate more, you may decide to hold on to certain symbols if you think they'll be useful during this part of the game. Reveal the submitted cards along with the 2 hidden tokens. If the number of matching ritual symbols on priority cards is equal to or greater than the number of players times 2, you've won the game. If both ritual tokens show the same symbol, then each match counts for double. If there aren't enough matches, you've lost the game. You also lose the game if any one investigator loses all their health, or a monster needs to move to the ritual location but there's no room. If the gate token stack ever runs out, then you'll be forced to conduct a ritual during that round of the game. In conclusion, prioritize, fight, investigate, send Cthulhu back where he came from. That's Arkham Horror Final Hour in a nutshell. Did you get all that?